Radio Mahama buy no. Eni ma de na kom kama.
Metumi de me kra de atoso. Se Israel and Iran tokwa no. Wo mu kuma no koduru afempo a anya dia John Mahama de sidi no bedru 17 da.
Russia, China will join. North Korea threats Omodeba, and even here in Africa.
Yen sama info nyina kwaba ebiem emma dwumade so yasanso financia. En sama ekoso e my Ghana mu yade ni nyina ebre ahefo eno achi no ye biebie nsem nim na yedimu nkomo president His Excellency John Dramani Mahama mampane guso ye adwuma serebe ya my Ghana yebefa yentoma pa efra eno nanam so ama NPP fo no edi nkomo se ai wo mo bompa ye se NPP fo na eke ho wo mo so mo bompa ye se entokwa no begina mu saa na dollar no akwakodru 17 cities edienti ena wo mu di san komo no quick one ye be borom na fe no information bi efreche babia no ye de nyina abre ahefo eno achi no Wahab adi nkomo afa Israel Iran ena fe American tokwa wo mu ekon ho esusanso bay ena edebebre my Ghana preparation by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ena ban aye quick one ye be borrow na fe no ye tie nkomo no edi ekwa na kofa ntokwa no edi ebaye baransa na no yankwa this video emra ense we ayakuafo ma ena o medi nkomo ene Ghana fo edi nkomo omo de sebia to Ghana anim na His Excellency John Dramani Mahama eti asem no abusua ai president also oye dwuma quick one ye tie video emra ekoba abusua asem no doso achi
Biwa do na fe ma me ya me so me yo ba tan am kita nkwala kuya ne ye bi ye nim se de etie na so ye Radio Mahama ba ye no eni ma de na kom kama enye kokoo ne nko an ye gina so de aye politics aka say Mahama be say enuma no enchance ye de bodan so ene e wo fom cement wo fom blocks wo fom ene ma bebra na ne boye din ya ne yentimi sidan no ene ye Radio Mahama ba na da ma ne ma ni ra NPP for say omo metu futuro mu ye ne omo penso no ne na omo ye ne yentimi mponsi na enko emu one sack kwa ne yentimi nto ene na da wo ma ehiafo bi ti say ye no ma ye do e champo yentimi to mo ma ye ba afi amu bufu ana bufu etiye ye no NPP for mo ba ye ne ye Radio Mahama ye no omo yentimi anya bita etiye strong say omo metu futuro mu ye.
Okay, abusua
Mr. Bright
mamu akwaba
mejoso
enkomo bebre ena ekoso Israel Iran ena afi no American tokwe ye be bowram ena ye be komu details but ansana no nkomo akuafo ma ye di quick one ye monwura mansan
mame na wase na yanchia yahwefo nyina di brighter ade ba ko ama no tisi ene se ye wonana no makuafo a ebinim de na omu nim nyansa che majority of the professors majority
na me say otisi fo mu ankasa na kwakuafo no nchen a de akoso akuafo no mutiase o baje se NPP fo no wo mkwa no makobobo NPP fo ano na wo ma seda ye ne se reality show ana
esemento oh so we mama asema wo kan na de toto professor bamfo asan hwan ho a utim se papa mama we na dwemu do e che sa professor
mama na kan sem nyina
wa kan sem nyina and brighter ya kan say status ni nyina ntimi nya 100% da ene na John Dramani Mama no ye nyankopon ni ye de beto nyankopon onye nyankopon ntino ebi be koyie ebi nkoyie but koko die ya ye kan kura de ye ntimi mfa so bo mfa nkobo aba ne se ono ankasa ne niema bi a wanye ne yiye nti ene ne akofa saade aba ene yesi de so bo ne body a na yeri abaya wanya ndutu ye yiye koko sector wono a na nadan kwakufu ado penso a nya abawi but we na ban eyeri ase nyina ana yate koko bo na amomode kwa amokoton no yate so etisi yate so a businessman be no person odi koko odwa na se odi dwa person obeboka etu ono akwa abroche okofa aka no $7,000 what they buy and was me dey beji $6,000 the brighter doesn't make sense it doesn't make sense and will be our base argument we say a woman so okofa $7,000 and so they buy was so dey $6,000 bia no eni pakro no edi kan na dwena dan tim no ewu eto so mienu onwene ho adwempa eto so miensa oni ho do enti wɔn na wɔn yɛ argument for koko boɔ no aban ne yate so wɔ wiase deɛ ɛnso wɔn fa bodada no man na wɔn ni ɔman no ho dɔ wɔn pɛ sɛ aban ne tua wɔn bodada no na ɔman ne broka na wɔn di gu hɔ no mo na ɛbɛyi ɔman na de soa na afɛ no yɛ saa de toɔ de bɛto ɔmanfoɔ soɔ na ɔman sa koko tua back to maame asɛm a wɔkɛ
ɔsɛ na nkyɛnse de bɔ dan so no wɔn mo kɔ akɔtɔ nkyɛnse na yate so enti wɔ si ne dan a wɔn mmerɛ yate cement so yate nkyɛnse so enua wɔn ate nua so ana
Gibraltar iron rods no nyinaa aba fam sɛ yɛ nim sɛ iron rods na nadan kɔ akufo adopɛ so na ɛkɔ 10,000 and then 16 mm what the mboa was mboa kɔ na kɔ bisa 16 mm wɔn mo deɛ no ne boɔ den kora na wɔn de 7,000 but ebinum de 68 one ton no ebinum de 68 16 mm ɛno ne babisa no boa menim na 16 mm no kora na ɛsoso no a yɛde yɛ abrosan no ne adeɛ no sɛ ɛnɛyi ɛyɛ 68 a ɛne na bisa ho sɛ 12 mm ɛne 11.5 no ne adeɛ no one ton de bɛgye sɛ aba fam ɛnkyɛnse sheet a wɔkan ɛnɛ ɛno nso boɔ aba fam saa gye sɛ womisa bi wobisa bi de abɛhu deɛ mekan na nanom akuafo nnuro de nneɛma ɔmo de yɛ kua nyinaa no ɛboɔ no yɛatete so de ama wɔn mo ɔka bibi de fa ɛmo ho ɛno nso yɛate so enti wonim sɛ wopɛ sɛ hu sɛ maame asɛm a wɔkaeɛ no wɔkaa no korɛ anaa wɔtwa antoro a ɛnneɛma ɔmobɔɔ so no nyinaa no ɛnɛ te si dwom yɛnnua no ma mowɔ aborɔkyire ebi a monyinie no bɔ mmɔden me wo soma me koraa mɛkɔ na de mɛyɛ video no na mede asɛnde no ɔhu prices no sɛ wɔn mobobɔ na ɔhu sɛ ne ɛsiteɛ enti ne nyinaa aba fam cement boɔ de aba fam de ama no petro boɔ de aba fam de ama no enti akuafoɔ wɔn mo kaa wɔn mo de fam fudie de kɔ wɔn mo fie wɔn mfuo mu ɛkɔyɛ adwuma no ɛnɛ petro bɛtɔ de agu ne kaa no mu ne kɔ fam wɔn mo tɔ bi de agu wɔn abobɔ yɛ mu ɛkɔ fam ɛno nti amakuani no sɛ nɛ kokoo ne boɔ na so ate a other side ni nyinaa na mabobɔ so nyinaa no wɔnya benefit de afiri hɔ a well sound meaning Ghanian a oye farmer odua cocoa no so the argument we beto na miracles aboagenom ani dom kuma man hyehye Wellington boot no omo ne na makura se na se omo ne na mfuo mu na de odwen yie pa ne behu se mo niti ade a mo ye nyina ye politics mo pesa mo score cheap political points enu nti na mo ye sa etimi tena se a mehwe ma mi video yi a wo bo ye and I'm indeed this woman is speaking as a Ghanaian. Oh, yeah. Or kasese Ghana ni o yekua na o ti kua dwuma ase na onim what is going on ewo omaimu ene wiase nyina enu nti ene yie se me kokoo boa ayefo na metimi to chense de bomeda so nse wono anum to o se kan ne ntimi nsi dan but ene yetimi si sanse ene me di si dan nyina boa ba fom eye cement na akoto eye anwa na wo koto eye iron rods na wo akoto eye chense na wo akoto ni nyina ba fom debata unim se na dan kwa kufu aropen so ebo aye di si dan abo etimi koya kodu 6,000 unim se na dan kwa kufu adro eno no eye yo double decker no unim se na dan kwa kufu adro so me baby me wo me site here sa wo ko fa anwea ba na pa anwea na e wo frɛ no ba atampa eno utimi di twa blocks utimi di ye plastic utimi di ye bibia na wo mo ko fa sa anwea ne di aba wo mo se 4,000 ane wonim se ukura 3,000 wonya bi to ane wonim se ukura 4,000 wonya abo ni bi to aya miamani ya gani a ya di bia no ya bisa bia ya hune bo e wo no mo eti se wo se me bo a wo so betimi abisa no wo se de wo kan aya tro anase e no kre e sa niema we ne edi si dan enti se anwa bo aba fom cement bo aba fom abo aba fom a e che se ne koko no ton botom ye no wonya 5,000 ene e che sa 5,000 no otumi de fa anwa etwa blocks esa de gu hono mo and so fa anwea double decker na wotwa 5 inches a wonya obetimi anya 1,400 na anwea ne bi besa ka echa obetimi di asese and the brand is because of maintenance my estimate the amount sika de betwa 1,400 blocks a ubon se na nanu akuafo no aban ne no omodi ne other side efri say yatete anwea so de cement so atete bibia so and no ukra cement 25 bucks a 25 bucks no betimi de atwa blocks no e mako 1,400 na America no na calculate na 25 bucks ne boy say and no ukra 1,500 a wonya bro 20 bucks e wo hono mo 15 million wonya 20 bucks wo hono mo and until how many amanasa how much now the be room and to cement 25 bucks no etikwani no wa benefited ye free ho enra mi hu ba be say achemo ba bi say eastern region ho no obi twitwatwa no kokofo gunam say no this is not the best thing. Kofa bulldozer no metu ase nyina no mfa tu kofa bulldozer na wutwa so de se be anhwe betimi asa afefe etu di bulldozer no otu ase ni nyina na nyame ya adom na ekina ye beda be soro na yesi wiase adwama so o masa atokoko obonu mu a ukoko nua na otwagu afi na akofa etuatua so ana eti maami we wa expose NPP for ene na nanom akuafo bia sabe o munya hu maami we expose NPP for
ade
na ne nsem odi tudwa yi ane se ne wo si kirete mu yi ono kura mpo e be fan se
so be ka se e bia ndisi fo na akofa na ba be gina
ndisi fo na akofa na be gina di brighter unim obi twa ntra unim de ye ize pa ma odi hu se maami we se ye wo ma coach ni no wo kasa ka bo nsa ne nsem ne nsisi so minim se wo ne me pa che na bo nsa ne nsem ne nsisi so e bi na amokoye campaign no aye wo ma na omo yo ye che ne ye bi san se e de no oton cosmetics so one was video na omo boko jade no oton cosmetics e di enti no omo ye campaign na ontumi nka e di enti no omo ye demonstration as be na ontumi nka di enti omo ye demonstration e tse se nipa nya coach no oti ba bi woni what is going on ya go fan se bra na be demonstration but so re woman we se di na nsem ni sisi so na o ka sa utum se onim nia o ka and so re no a metimi aka no prenye prefa se na desua enumera kasabo age no na desua enu wo mo maka Mustafa no mo ani wo mo maka but how no wo see communicate e che se maame na dwemu do efie nyansa no wo bondo bo ase ene dan tirim
quick one yemfie ni nkyira ha o screen ni so a NPP for no wo ma dinkomo na o say if the Israel-Iran war continues in the next 3 weeks, the dollar could rise to 17 Ghana cedis. Akwasi kwatin. Hey! What's the chebu tree my?
Dear akwasi kwatin. Eka nyina ne se. Se Iran ene eye Israel ntokwa no ekosoa na wotwe miensa oman ni sidi na se aban jo ma amade je ne ho saka anwe ene ye de aba fom no ebetimi apagya akoduru 17 cities te se de wo mo de koduru ye no
but misumi wo gidie bi wo mi mu se His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ene na ban Wama boa wo mu ho enti de NPP fo no hu no nya sa na tie o ana
for once me no ya adwen wa ha minimi ye pa se be take ni particular ato force ne jo ma be de beto se ne be ya dollar no nkodu 17 na NPP di ko ye ne da I'm telling you minim se sadia no nko ade minim se for now no NPP 2 ba ko no mo bom pa pa se nke betimi asie no ebi na asie enti wo mo ba bontena they will pretend as if say economy any ade by behind the scene no eye wo mo de pa wo mo bom pa se nke janungumu a petrobo na kosoro na sidi na agensemu na budichi na ne 50 cities ya kan jam say this na one man en ka sidi be 50 ya kan jam say Russia and Ukraine war hwe say na dan kokofo ado siman ne giye e ma sidi ne kura koso kodu 17 on say Iran any Israel kono joma ma ntimi amanage ska no amena kodu 50 eno no wo pe won say ne petrol akodu 30 cedi per liter eno no wo pe and they are just wo mu ada adwo ho ebo ho paye gidigidi say ampa e betimi akodu sa stage no but I'm telling you the brighter niema mu betimi ayeden said ye kwasi kwa atenken se wo mo koso anu wo mo kwa because upompo said ye di ka di etremu di atremu no ho no mo na fam mo fa me no ka say America aye nhyiamu aye meeting wo mo so wo mo so aye di wo betumi said ye be ya wo betumi anya petrol e di afiri anya kwan foforo be fa so a e betumi e di aba e koso ho e ko no Iran nya wo madun se wo betwa because Donald Trump efre ili se wo mo ni Iran ni nkomo na nka wo mo mra negotiation table ho no mo nkasa no Iran se wo mo negotiate bia
Wakoku omo hene.
Wakoku omo hene open negotiation.
Leader.
Yeah, say me no ka say ye. Anya dia opposition party wo US won mfa Donald Trump ndia wo yeso. Eniema wo ye nyina wo mfa so because wo mfiri say eye kokwa eni sika say ye kwa wo so wo de bo American mine ho bra no. En wo say no. En wo kuma de hye. Wonim say na me no ka say more than 650 soldiers. En na Iran ekum wo mo e wo US soldiers ye. But American mine mpese wo de betudwa. Enso de ekoso no no. Enti wo kum wo mo Bible kraka wo so bi nko ho din fofie kwa nkofo na japade sa akwa. Ai wo ye dan wo so ho beka. Enti aye dan ya ne kosoa minim se ade ya ho kire bebe wiase ama ye ga na bia beto so but to the extent say sidi ne bedru 17 metimi de me krato wonom se nya de bedru da I'm telling you
kasa dabi enkasa
minim de aban we beso mo ye equalization John Dramani Mahama nya na jeto be mena beso da They want to prove everybody wrong, including NPP.
So do create to.
Me say, I am telling you, say minimum year pass 6 cities, bedu 17 cities. You better petrol later 25 cities. It will never go there. And what that? And I buy way a yama. One of the entire metanya kodro kasano. Maka fiscal discipline. So I said ya buy na senya botre. Now to nyama. One of them say I buy be or ye cowarda. Or you hufwa. And kasago co price in Guanteso. And ko be yes said ye bibia okay. No tia bona kasa de amako ko akuafo. Sa 3600 no de amomo. No o broker the go. No broker the go. Ni e bona baso jonwo and no fiscal discipline na ye kan no e besa wonye fiscal discipline wonye indiscipline e bes kasemu a enti at the end no e beba no na beye ka ade ato man no na afi wonya ba bia obeyi sika de bekwa kotua sa aka no na mo man no be che no afi e wo se wo yi free ba bie na wo che na de guso se de beya e be mo man no ho ha no and ndi setimi anya kodro se emfa won de obi abeka emfa won de cocoa farmers beka emfa won de opposition beka John Mama se wate so ema wo the price na wo dwama so de se e de fa kuafo no de mo eno ya de ba kwa mani age pa ebiem e cathedral na ba ne ba ye na wa nto aso no the better mani se ne esi age no mabom tum kura pa da e mani je pa because I one of the edificer abani beyiska edensi the better uye edensi investment sika bia no abrimu ba wo diska no kohyem but wonya mfirimu mfama enti the mo wudi wo man foto ebom de kose cathedral no no emfa so bia mfirimu mfama sika no kwa ema aban ne hunya nsase eno na hunya eno nti e wo so ojai na ode to ho no mo afei ebiem aban ne hunya nsase 225 ministers no are useless are unnecessary are lazy man's approach it will no use 125 ministers for now okra 58 even one system ministers no kra wonyi the brighter yere emumienu na ache no sa other half no expenses ane de ma wo mo adwana ma de ma wo mo allowances ane de mo mo petrol no mo to emu bodyguard ye ane wo mo no anuane ane wo incentives ane de ma those ministers no sense can for now no eguoma no futum and also that's all afeyenko na ye read the kind of appointment na na kwaku for the ministers here emu deputies here and nei ye wo ministry ni bi kra no any deputy wo hono mo ni nyina eye kwan a aban na adan na dia mahu se e boss sikasem a wo ye very disciplined and no na mmanya nkodro de ka se minimie se ben metime de me kra de atoso se edru dia den se dan ya sidini nu 17 bia mu da sidini nu 17 bia mu da petrol nu 25 liter da aban no ede ne magu akwamu a ebe kosoro but enu the NPP de ekoye no enti the NPP for empire omobo kwase kwate my very disappointed because would you obi a ye Canada Japan achi a obi a no kredi ani ade at least be patriotic kakra na dwen wo man no kakra na wo kan say enti ekodu 17 ade na amenya de afiri enkonsu nkoduru da
quick one yenko tie enkomo a Wahab edie na ne nkom na abusuan bese unya time na agibre because we bie information bi wo mu a abusuan esawani enseseme ena metra ha ekachro quick one America and Iran afi Israel toko a wo mu ko no na se ne sei edie susuanso na betimi di abro man Ghana se se me no kasai edie na ekoso die nti na kofa ntokwa ne bae quick one yenkuti Wahab
Ekunya America and Israel for SI ewe Iran so no na eba ne san anasa okunwe unity everywhere mu.
Well, my mencham not mentioned here for. I think that we're an ongoing, we can call it dispute. America through Israel, that is Israeli intelligence, after you over the years to say Israel for Iran for nuclear warheads, and I say more nuclear arsenals, and now more programmer a bit more develop ballistic weapons, a bit more reachy Tel Aviv, and I say other parts of Israel. And this has been an ongoing thing for the past since 1951. It is not an issue of today. 1951, this issue was prevalent. 1953, this issue was prevalent, leading to Israel for a Bibinya, what is called Iran for the Islamic Revolution in 1979. There has been an ongoing dispute, one after the another, accusations, etc. But then the wave of this very current event, Obakaya, President Obama time, Obama the year Iran American nuclear deal agreement. Under the deal, no, Obama reached out to the Iranians, telling them, say, almost stop certain enrichment in Ibi. Iran proved the Americans that it was for just commercial purpose and for their personal as a country use, but then not for the atomic as the Israelis or the world seeks to do. Prior to that, the European Union and the United Nations, Oma power the IA, International Atomic Agency, which is the Vienna based of the UN office. I'm Oma Sadia we see back to back from President Clinton, back to back from President George Bush Jr., back to back Obama, back to back Lazy Joe, Trump 1, then Lazy Joe, and then Trump 2. I'm referring to Joe Biden, said Trump friend. Now you recall, say, President Trump today, even Kwano, in 2017, he was the president of the United States of America. It was just after the Obama when he assumed office. Or say, till now, Obama and Iran for Richie, it was a mere nonsense. Referring to say, how do you take Americans' money to go and strike a deal of a programmer? America cannot justify, say true, say Iran for any nuclear warheads. And in his estimation, it was a corruption that Obama should have even be penalized and as a sentence for causing in Ghana reference financial harm and financial loss to the United States of America. That was 2017 President Trump talking. And President Trump decided, say, every agreement with Iran, every agreement in Iran, it was a sham. And that it was a bad negotiation. It was a bad negotiations into Oyadeng or destroy that agreement. So in the state of the mind of you and I and the world, President Trump walked off the agreement on the table, meaning say they did not believe and there was no justification say Iran or nuclear warheads into Castle. 2018, historically, he walked off the table discussing Iran nuclear affairs, which has completely. Now, 2020, it was campaign of the United States. Joe Biden, or no Biden, no Joe Biden, and Netanyahu, because no pro-Israel. That time, Netanyahu was starting Hamas for Niamama. So at that time, our President Trump was on President Netanyahu today, who are collaborators, they had a problem. The problem they had was that Netanyahu was using and forcing Trump to go into Iran matter. And Trump said, no, I won't do. Why? Because, honestly, Netanyahu wanted to use America to prolong his political stay in power, referring to the fact that a country, Israel, no prime minister, I went to him about 3 times. Netanyahu is the one and the only one. How is he managed to do that? Oba, anytime they are now, not the time you have the swan, he finds a clever way, create a problem between the Palestine Hamas and then also create a problem. Then it extends. And Israeli Knesset, which is the parliament of Israel, yet too much of what is called presidential elections, but we have parliamentary elections through the Likud party and then the Labour party and the other party. And he said, one coalition would draw crown. As a vote of no confidence, as so we a table, no me prime minister. So Netanyahu survived Ehud Barak at the time, back to back, while Sadiano before Shimon Peres after the death of Ishaq Rabin, and obey the bar power back and Ehud Omet Ebaye and Osabe Biu. And in the third time, I will be now crisis, a friend, political upheavals related to a corrupt practice. Netanyahu was heading to jail in Israel. But Onya Kwabedi Prime Minister, no, the only way that he would survive was to start and foment the problem on the Arabs. But that is the catch. Hamas is the key and the root cause of Israeli bombardments and the fight with Palestine. Why engage you 1.5 years in me? 1.5 years will come about 250,000. We have to ask, say Hamas for as an organization, say. And then from Hamas formation of 1987, who formed Hamas? Historically, the world is aware, say, Hamas was an organization formed by Israel, Mossad. Israelis, they supported Hamas to form that organization to destroy the fiber, and then the ideologies of Yasser Arafat. At that time, Yasser Arafat had been since 1967 fighting on Israel after the self-determination and two-state affair. Palestine as a state, Israel as a state. And when Yasser Arafat and the PLO, yes, before the Islamic Party, Islamia, and all fighting of self-determination, and Israel for turning around to form an organization within the same Palestine and part of Palestine, and create the terrorist organization, the rebel organization, the insurgents organization, the bandit organization, all the anyhow, any form, I have friend Hamas, and the Hamas for terrorizing Yasser Arafat. And in the late 80s, Aranka Israel for Yasser Arafat Ekunu, or Hamamet, or Tunisia. It was this same Hamas boys who are with the Israeli Mossad. And Yasser Arafat generals on one survive here and a Tunisia for the year. And the Israeli on their own declared him well fugitive. So now, Hamas had been in bed with Israeli Mossad. And to exercise in the course where Clinton by in the 90s, 93, I'll be to broke a deal between Yasser Arafat and then Ishaq Rabin, the biggest handshake in Camp David. Who broke a deal, no? Now, Israeli authorities, Israeli Prime Minister Ishaq Rabin, say Israel and Funny State, not Palestine and Funny State, not to be a tuncha. So in no time than when they were about to cement the final agreement in 2020, how do we call it, 1994, 1995. At that time, that was Tel Aviv. It was a rally. And Israeli hardliners, which we Bibi Netanyahu, Ariel Sharon, any other Israeli prime ministers are now Omoniye Likud Party hardliners are no more agreement in and no more draft Yegal Amir, a 25-year-old boy liga, a law student, and Otimi Ekum Yishak Rabin, and shattered the dream of the state affair, in the 1994. And having done that, and Ekoba say agreement to two-state affair, it got blown on the face of President Clinton. And Clinton manages situation, Israel Palestine war, and unfortunately, 9 years after the death of Ishaq Rabin and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat should be after the death of Yasser Arafat, Israel had relied on Hamas, thinking that Hamas were not going to give him power for Israel now to assume authority and rule. There wouldn't be any Palestinian on the table or two-state affair. And Hamas fought against Israel. So, power and more. And two-state that was the genesis of their fight. Meanwhile, before Hamas, the headquarters, not that on a PLO, Yasser Arafat, the headquarters was in Qatar. And the headquarters in Qatar, Israeli government through the Mossad intelligence team, now almost sponsor Hamas, our Qatar. At that time, America, United States of America, or America or Israel, they've been allies forever. America had a base in Qatar. Israel was an ally of Qatar in the Middle East. How can Israel be a member, a friend, and then an ally of Qatar? Now, America also one of the biggest friends in our Mediterranean, Arabian Peninsula is Qatar. America will be so. Israel, Qatar, downfall. Then, surprisingly, Hamas, and headquarters. Isn't it strange? So Israel will be friend to Qatar and knows that Hamas will. America is friend of Qatar and knows that Hamas will. At that time, there was no problem between Israel and Hamas. And in that, going forward, and Hamas will be a radical leader. And will start to say, then you know, Modiamayeno, the very to tell you, in the end, now we say, is there any intelligent community in the world? Not the M16 of the UKs, not the K9s of the Germans, not the Brazilian Hawks, not the American CIA, not the FBI, not any intelligent, not Scotland Yard, not any intelligent community in the world that were yes smart, share Mossad. How was Hamas able to put Israel, Ukraine, Jerusalem, West Gaza, how were they able to do that? Because only need any equipment, because only need a seaport. Seaport is controlled by Israel. And the equipment, and two tunnels. These tunnels was what Hamas was using to destroy Palestine. Was the Yasser Arafat movement? That was what they were using. But no one knew boys and also people be accountable. Now the issue now became said. At that time, not Iran we were Israel an ally. Iran we no America an ally. 1953, now America an ally Israel, Iran. 1951, no America. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Go and check how President Mossadegh, the Prime Minister Mossadegh of Iran, how he was overthrown. Let them go and read the history. Americans and British M16 CIA, Pahlavi, and one the revolution, 82, your friend is saying, Mossadegh. And Mossadegh was the first democratically elected president of the Islamic Republic of Iran. They have a sound government like you and I, and like what America and Israel claim to be happening. That was out in the state of Iran. 1951, American forecast said they like and they prefer Iran as an ally at that time. Oil companies, private companies, oil, and Mossadegh, the democratically elected president, said no. Every oil company bear a war Iran government in the Nisato so. It won't to say the nationalizing Roma to Roma market because the world, they are the third biggest oil producing nation in the world. And American forecast no yen tiase. And Romon tiase no and Romco recruit you a Pahlavi, Reza. Reza no buy no. And obey a hard line. Prime Minister, very hard line. Iranians, in support. And also denationalize all the petroleum companies, in Asadema, America and UK and the foreign allies. And obey a hard line. So in another breath, a democratic government of Iran was removed and put up a dictator by the West. And he ruled Iran with hard iron hands, leading to that, and the Islamic revolution. Omia revolution, and the two, Pahlavi, a government in Fiho. And the first constitution of Iran. And Ayatollah Khomeini as a spiritual leader in the Siho, and presidents. And during the time of the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Omubasati Womu a constitution 81. Ayatollah Khamenei, this one Obakuno, the president of Iran, and Ayatollah Khomeini, the supreme leader of Iran. And these people for the past 30-something years, and decided say, even though bad, but they will stabilize the economy. At that time, Iran, the bitterest enemy was not the Arabian states. The bitterest enemy was Saddam Hussein, Iraq. who supported Iran to fight Iraq? America, Israel. They were the people who supported Iran and Iraq war. And Iran-Iraq war, no, in 1981, around 88, 89, no, at that time, no, Ayatollah Khamenei and another president, no, Iran was at the mercy of Saddam Hussein. And then this period, they were supporting Iran against Saddam. And as Saddam Bufu no gas chamber or gassy woman, 3,001 day she woman with gas. And then America for a day. And then Iran and Tokwa, Iran and the Iraq, a true child. A true child, no. Now Iran for not take a stand after the revolution, no say. The American for crown, and America turned around. The support of Saddam Hussein. So Saddam also at a point became a strong ally of the United States of America. Look at the switch. Straight one. And against Iran. And then the Iran Islamic Revolution, did the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, IRGC, ABC Hall. And when they created the Islamic Revolution, Guard Corps in UVA, and also started say we will be hard. And we are saying, yes, hard. Yes, I understand. How do they start managing and then sponsoring what the Americans accuse you is what? Terrorism, which is bad for any government to do that. But not notwithstanding, when Hamas, base Qatar, Iran, no a Qatar friend, America, or a Qatar friend, Israel, a Qatar friend. In the Hamas for na a use sponsor woman, Iran sponsor, no more sponsor my umo, West for na no sponsor momo. In the Hamas, no a baby Iranian baby, and Israel for Yahweh, saying Yan again together. In the time now, you be we no, Yasarafat be we na, Hamas started so on Israel kono, and now Iran started say, now Hamas for na raise arms, so we protect Islam. Chadian boys near you, terrorists said, no, after the independent, you protect Islam. And then the ma Ayatollah Khamenei, a homini, or no better than ever support to say the cause of Islam protection and guidance and blah blah blah. Announcing a geologist, at this status will sponsor Hamas. And we could see another one called Hezbollah.
Yeah.
Hezbollah, that is terrorist or group. Sorry, a group fighting for the cause of Allah. And Suko BC, Lebanon. Into that time, the real fight between Israel and the Arabs was not Iran. Israel-Arab fight, what is an Israeli-Arabian fighter? Nay, Syria against Assad.
Yeah.
Nay, Jordan against. And nay, Egypt. Because Israel, or can Egypt, Jordan, and then Syria boom trade. And no Mukunye. Until say United States President Jimmy Carter, the most peaceful among all of them, on the best stop us our war without dropping one bomb, because one streamers be a monabeti semi kokun toka nama jidin as an American president to have a batch of a streamer. Why be into any Walter Mondale's a government that they stop here. Into Israel stopped. One Alexandria bet one Egypt in Tokani to try ever payment. One Jordan, Smoku, peace pipe. But only Syria there, they never, up to today, no mean fine. Until said recently, another terrorist organization, related to Taliban, related to Daesh, ISIS, Israeli CIA intelligence, help woman to Assad Bano. Meaning said, they were preparing, Bibi Netanyahu was incubating Iran. Say, so ne Hamas no kumwie na bibia ni hobium. This will come 250,000 Palestinians. And what is there to kill again? What is to clean? What is there to destroy? And then he has to return to Israeli parliament because the constitution of Israel has said that. So one gun, single gun, you can't run elections. And to avoid the operation of Hamas, international find a way. Now the issue, President Trump now on records or say he will not commit one U.S. troop, one U.S. army, one U.S. resources, and farm court and supporting Netanyahu, and non farm court Iran and Kokun. And no troops out of America, no budget on America. in defense against anything that is not American. And Koban is saying, so in a surprise turn, Bibi Netanyahu, etimi Emma convince President Trump. And then the 2023 elections of the United States, bringing Trump to. That was the focus and the vocal point of the campaign. Said all the wars Obama, all the operations Obama, and they were senseless operations. They are not because they were not good negotiators. That is why the Iranians were adamant. And you will negotiate without throwing one single gun. In Japan saying, and that was what it was hailed by the whole America. Because American soldiers go no a share family, a share the country, you know. And everybody hailed him, and then vote to 2024, 2025, Wahab the president. And where did it happen? But then American Constitution allowed United States president to have what is called a military operation or military action without American Congress and then without American Senate approval. And the operation because Operation 1, Okochi Maduro, that was military action. Because Obama also invoked Military Action Act and Wadukokum Saddam Hussein. Our your friend Abu Tabat in Pakistan. Also called against international law, also against international airspace. And Wadiko Kokum Saddam. Operation does not last a day, 2, 3. Until nobody expected President Trump, Maduro operation, they say you and I, Venezuela, Maduro, and Tim Wasson.
Yeah.
What is fair? Because Okoye operation, we have near prosecutors, pay case, prefer charges against him, and then number 2 broken. That's very fine. That's U.S. government, U.S. president using the authority of what? A veto power to exercise the military operation action. And Iran, the other day, nobody expected because they started negotiations. And surprisingly, the International Atomic Agency negotiations, and one President Trump said, prepare deal in Famra. So they were like, what deal? Montremra, Monfa declare weapons. No, this is something that we are handling with the world. UN, with the European Union, with other partners, stakeholders. And Yamonkwa, also there be for deal Nebra. Okay, other countries came, the first country to come in the Qatar. And all from no America said no, you enough. And all call Iran for prepare Nebra. And Oman so free woman. And some call Anye storm it. And Switzerland so free woman. American negotiators. No, Monkoye Dinmra. And nobody expected this. But then to bring you back was the 12-day military operation via Netanyahu, needlessly, in my view, that is the basic causes of this. Acquire 12-day operation via or they call Iran, Tehran, Ekokum Ismail Ania, Ekokum Nasrawa, Ekokum Sinwa, Ekokum. All those negotiators Hamas now non Netanyahu and no more agreeing sort of negotiate solve that issue. So there were no negotiators. And the Israeli for now call an ally and Bombo Hamas for headquarters. And then the anger by Iran also started also retaliate here and 12-day operation. Only a 12-day operation. President Trump and is a peacemaker. Surprisingly, Bibi Netanyahu no ajobro enum jaye. In no time from July last year, just beginning of this year, Maduro operation only for us to know say American negotiations with Iran. Where you went home, any other part of Asia, your friend stakeholders in Iran can America what is called the historic build-up. What is historic build-up? Anytime Abraham USS Abraham Lincoln and move out from Virginia waters or Hawaii waters or maybe it will be Alaska and any place that they are, that's what headed towards Middle East. Then they did that in only 2003 or 2001 when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait and we move here. You know, I said Gerald R. Ford, USS R. Ford also move. And these are carrying the Americans' most biggest overseas operation fleets. They don't move it without fighting. They don't move it without an operation. So the world was like, okay, maybe they were using it to intimidate Iran, now to give them the whole secret, everything of their weaponry, so that President Trump will be triumphed as a peacemaker to that extent. They will say USS Cole. That is also another striking fleet. And so origin more. Into all America put their bases in the Middle East on alert. Where are their bases? Saudi Arabia is their biggest base. Then Qatar, then Oman, then Bahrain, and then UAE, United Arab Emirates. Also was put on alert. So what is happening? So the Iranians were wondering, and then they were meeting Americans. They didn't anticipate anything, but then the surprise thing to the world that some of us knew, say, America will not move Gerald Ford and then Abraham Lincoln and the USS Cole in the region, no Marco Cosalitu, because the two fleets alone carries as many as 40,000 troops on the vessel. Think of it. Yes,
Nipa be 40,000 no mu osuo ne so.
40,000 strong contingent on the American vessels, and on our 12 extra vessels. A biwa Bahrain, a biwa Bahrain, a biwa Oman waters, the Gulf of Oman. Now be watch here. Iran on the interface the Middle East, on the border, on the sea border. It is the Persian Gulf, which the Iranians call it Persian Gulf. Arab side, the Oman, Gulf of Oman, and I said the Arabian Sea. Into countries one in what direct border, Bahrain, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Oman, one in what direct border, and then the north, one Iraq or border, and Iraq, any Syria or border, and a Syria, any friends say, Israel our border. So Israel hasn't got an easy accessor. Now, Akofa Tehran. Because let's say, you see the frontline Arab states, entry. And you see what they call Bombo, 12 days operations, Because that are not Assad, no young boy. Now, fast forward. American contingent, and I share the sea, which is the Persian Gulf, and they divide you. Over the south, over Arabian Sea. On the right, over Mediterranean, Red Sea, Mediterranean, and then the Red Sea. That's over Egypt, Abefa, Djibouti, Yemen, Asia, and about the North Africa. Into that area, an American base Yemen, only Yemen, so what guided where Yemen and Saudi Arabia in Yemen for the past 10 years. As the Saudi Arabia as an American ally. It's the region named Jodada. USS Cole na one and BC. But America shifted USS Cole at the Persian Gulf. Meaning say you origin USS Cole na Alford na Abraham Lincoln also here. One of them, the US destroyer na isi Bahrain and our 90 jet fighters. 90 40 Iran and a 40 to protect their region. And Sana interceptors. Hardcore interceptors and across all these frontline states.
Missile interceptors as I'm now okay.
Yes, missile interceptors.
Just say to pay and never and no never saw to pay no wiem ho. Ya MD
Israel wanted there. America build you Qatar, we build you Oman, we build you all the frontline states, we build you Kuwait, we build you Honina. As a cover for one an American military presence.
Now, Pacho, my say idea about Wahab say, why would all those states around, the Gulf, allow US to use their territorial waters for setting up these bases? Is it the fear of Iran in Tianam?
Okay, no, there was no fear of Iran. Iran had been very nice with the neighbors. But when then the story was created out there, say, more military arsenals.
Yeah.
More warheads, more nuclear. The impression was created that one day, Obeyisu on the neighbors. No, we can do that. But the fact said, more Islamic, strong or stubborn government in America created that impression. And I know more oil interest or region, more who say, Mumini army. ya de kataba Qatarian population ni nyina no 1.2 million. Real Qatarians near 250,000. 750,000, 850,000. Nepalese, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Koreans, India, Southeastern Asians, and they make up the population up to 1.3 million and the 250,000 Qatarians. Now, what about UAE? UAE, the population, about just 10%, 15%, and Arab Emirates. Oma Kanimina, Pakistan, India, Sudan, and a form. The story is not different. Kuwait crowd home you for the Omufi Kenya Mone, Omufi Sudan, and a form the Republic, your friends, the Kingdom of Kuwait. Susuki Twabi. In the America all along because of at that time aggression of Saddam Hussein suspectedly blah 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 and the building or military. In the agreement, understanding, declaration, and then whatever you call it between America and the other Arab nations. And to answer your question, say, were they allowed? And they didn't break any international law. No. Okay. The countries freely, yes. Agreeably, yes. And America has a large presence of their troops guiding Saudi Arabia, especially when the impression was created, say, one day Iran and Iraq, who were notorious in the mind of Americans, about the book Mecca, Kabana Twachne. In China, Saudi is also out of panic. And they have been an ally of the United States government since 1946 when they had the Saudi Arabia and American declaration. After our time, now we are partners. And the American soldiers in the Guam won't go forever. So now, if you look at the location of Saudi Arabia, on only Iran, border, only frontline state anymore. On who was that frontline state, Nechi. And Iran also know what the other side interfacing the Middle East. The back Pakistan, the back Afghanistan, the back your friends Azerbaijan, and a Nesro Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kurdistan, and then the border Asia. And to one on that area, Iran is a vast country, very huge, with a big population running 200 million. The next population is bigger, our territorial Arabian Peninsula. In Saudi Arabia, over 80 million. The countries now can be population 1 million, a be population 1.2, a be population 2 million. And there are small pockets of countries who are very rich, and American forces will be kind of watch you do on a or control. Why not? U.S. interest. They have to be.
Now, Mibo, that's when Iran ate me echo bomb a year U.S. embassy or Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
Iran. The missiles, and Iran consistently have warned that if any of the Arabian countries are or peninsula or border and so allow America to use, and Israel was using those countries' territoria to blast. What does it mean? What does it mean? U.S. base, Israel for baby omo, they are far from Iran. So if Israel is to fly direct to Iran, by the time Obedruno, Turkey started the northern part of Syria to enter through Iraq, the northern part of Iran. And Iran is so large. So to fly from Iran north and come to Tehran, which is in the midpoint, it will take Israel a lengthy and a very quiet number of hours. And rather than Israel was also operating from the frontline states, i.e. Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, and then also, how do we call it, Saudi Arabia. So the Iranians warned them, say, you are my neighbors. I've not had an issue. They are my brother Muslims. Why do you allow America and Israel to use your base against me? And this is a provocation. Therefore, in their mind, their justification is also that if you allow a fight, then I throw stone. Wherever the stone came from, I must also throw stones to that place. That was why they've used, since Saudi Arabia is using their territory for America and Israel, I don't know, started say, but interestingly, once Iran were building drones more than any other country in the world.
I see.
Not Russia. China no open up. And the next country the world does not know is South Korea. We don't know their drones a year or more. In Iran, America themselves are aware. Israel is aware, say, when Russia-Ukraine war, no, almost every drone Russia using comes from Iran. So Iran has a lot of them. Now, something called Iranian possibly have decentralized or military capacity and capability because I don't suspect and think that they were stupid to keep everything in Tehran. No. Because the country is so large and almost back, eastern border, at the back, no facing Asia. No. Only in mountainous areas. And then under the mountains, and that is where they are hiding most of their military bases. And then they create what is called decoy and dummy bases. What does it mean? They can create a place like Dansuman, big. So in the air with surveillance and the reconnaissance secret flights, they will see the town as a military base. Then they build detonators, grenades, etc., something that can inflame. So when the enemies are in the air and they drop it, they know that they've destroyed a full military camp. Our Iran. Into the aversion and the attention goes there. Say Israel, like Americans said, they are destroying the military bases, which to them very nice. But then surprisingly, the Israelis and Americans are shocked how still these people are able to deploy in thousands of what is called drones in the air. So when the American and Israeli detonated, interceptors, very expensive enough, chasing those drones, they are chasing drones that doesn't cost more than $20,000. With a drone that costs over $5 million. So you see what they are drawing them into. So they are drawing America to chase their dummy drones. Then they are using the proper one to land.
I see.
Yes, this is what they are doing. But everybody knows, America and Israel combined, no air force can handle them. But the reality of the matter is that they are very air superior. Undoubtedly, Israel is perfect. And even most of the operations, the area operations, Israeli troops in area, and American troops. But now it has reached a critical stage because President Trump decided to have, an operation. So about operation to be swift and swift. So he had thought, to be about 5 days, 2 days. That is what U.S. President can act. Now it is a week on Saturday. The trouble is not even going hard because the Iranians, upon the killings of all their generals, including Ayatollah Khamenei, Ali, still, now they don't know where these people, their deployment and the drones, air-free, airback. So it has become an extended conflict. And then coupled with the fact that the Iranians are targeting the Arabian Peninsula, all the countries, American bases, to bring pressure to bear on America. And let us not forget, the cost of area fight is very heavy. So now what does America do with the 40,000 troops? So at the point, they have to enter on the ground. Where would they enter? They can only enter through what? Through Iraq. But if it has to be the entry point of the West now, the Persian Gulf, they cannot enter because the U.S. soldiers are not good on ground fight. Anything about President Trump, I try to say, the Kestama, British Royal Army, Bebem, into a secret obey the air base. What does it mean? Or you do air base, Iran for hitting the British air base to provoke and anger the British to come in because when it comes to ground fighter, it's only the British and the France, the Spain and the Italians, they can support America as NATO members. But in this case, Kestama is very careful because that cost President Tony Blair, his presidency, his prime ministerial, went to following George Bush to do the same thing in Iraq. We used to Royal Army or Basra, any Omukunye. Now the fight, the real fight is beyond the 5 weeks President Trump then they have to do what is called, they have to elevate. They move from now military operation to military invasion. How do you invade? So the invasion, you need that approval from U.S. Congress. So if in case they will not be able to get approval for military invasion there, then Iran will be strong enough because the monies and then the interceptors, the ICBMs is costing United States. So as you speak yesterday, American President Trump, Congress or parliamentary approval, Congress approval for what? What is called contingency budget. In the beginning of January, in the beginning of March, your president is saying, March, U.S. president is back to come and collect money to support, which it will be a difficult exercise. So now the Iranians, I know, or in my view, said they want to push the America now to come up with an invasion, because after the fall of presidents in leaders in Ayatollah, the Americans started saying, say, they should start. The locals should start a fight and take the government. And that resonates with what they did in 1951, what they did in 1953, when they built Reza Pahlavi. That is what they did. They made them and they fought with each other, and then the Sunnis and the Shias and all the time tribal. But this time, unfortunately, for America and Israel, the Sunnis and the Shias, the Houthis, in Iran, they didn't support the idea regardless of the fight of what is going on. So America would have relied on, together with Israel, say, the locals will now move in and it becomes an open fight, and then the government will be toppled. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened like that. So America is very nervous. Israel is very nervous that they needed the population to support the uprising and the engagement of the Americans, and it has not happened like that.
All right.
So what does it mean? What it means is that now you have to move from military operation to invasion. And when it comes to invasion, the Iranian Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, they know their country. They open an access for you, enter, they catch you back and free, because even Iraq did a little bit. But the Iranian army is so big. Iranian army is one of the biggest in the world, and they have a lot of weapons. And they want to draw America into invasion, and then the invasion will lead them to war. Is America prepared to go at war in Iran? Now, my interest is say, what are they going to change? So if America now want a regime changer, the regime and change here, the population and take arms against the government. They are whipping up the enthusiasm, but at the end, and they say, no, Takwano, Uber used to area bombardments in at the point we have supply them because Kenny. So now America, I say, no produce balanced weapons. We take longer because America could have sophisticated one, and yet two months in the building. But Iran want to build a drone within 1 day. Not drone in and it has become a huge cost of exercise, all in the good name of Bibi Netanyahu forcing America into this trap.
Alaji.
And the interest, yes, sir.
Sorry to cut you, but for the sake of our airtime and our airspace, we've done like 45 minutes now. Nami percent kanyami adumechna. Yeah, part 2 of this conversation, where we'll be looking at whether say it will escalate into where possibly Russia, China will join, North Korea, threats, and even here in Africa. Is there the potential, say, America might also have some interest in some states in Africa, or to me attack Africa, and then the Strait of Hormuz now, the pipeline.
The pipeline is the sea belt.
The sea belt, very well, thank you, sir.
The Persian belt is not a pipeline.
Good, yes. Yeah,
so where all the oils need free the Mediterranean, also I want to cover the Yemen south, and they call Europe. Far north, Red Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and a far over Asia, Indian Ocean, and the Asia supply. And that is the edge, the border, the sea border between Oman and then between Oman and Iran. Beautiful. And that side goes deep into Iran. So Iran has more upper hand. Iran is under it, Oman is under it, and Iran, they are controlling that belt.
Okay,
so it's difficult now to block.
All right, so now can Iran also take the fight to America? Because now it's like the fight is within the Middle East, but Iran
they cannot.
They cannot.
No. Now the missiles cannot reach America. That reach they don't have.
All right.
The country we don't know their reach is China, Russia, and North Korea, because Russia has a border with America in Alaska.
Yeah.
So Russia is close to America. What Russia will not fight. China, for your information, even though we do part 2, if I have the time and I have the stomach to do that. Russia and China have been a very peaceful ally. They would never, no matter how, they will talk diplomatically strong words, support Iran in words. But when it comes to fight, China does not lose. They don't want to lose what they've gained after the experience of the Second World War, when they supported the West, they supported America, supported Britain, supported France, supported Europe to fight against the German Nazis of the Nazis power. That Nazis power, Italy, which is today American ally, was an enemy of America. They fought for Hitler. Ethiopia fought for Hitler. Japan fought for Hitler. So when after the Second World War now, China called back. Now Japan should call back. No, Japan was for Hitler and China was for America. Japan was signing to China, so destroying China. It was after which, and then they give you the birth of China Communist Party. Say we are saying Yamadia, you better concentrate. That brought Chairman Mao 50-year development partner and China bedroom.
All right, Mamina was saying no pay for.